So, yay, Rose has joined. This is fantastic. Oh my gosh, it worked for the first time. Wow. Okay. Maybe you have the magic touch.
Wait, let's see. Is my lighting better this way?
This is so exciting. Oh, we have some people joining. Yeah, either way, I think you're a glowing, angelic creature there. Whatever works.
Sorry, I don't have a iPod tripod.
No worries. No, I'm just super grateful that you're taking the time to chat, and we go way back. So let me do a little intro. Everybody that's watching, this is my friend Rose Surnow. She's an incredible writer for TV, commercials, and radio recently. And congrats on all of that. It's been really cool to listen to you, even like speak like do the voiceover of your own, narrate your own writing. Like that's been super cool.
Thank you.
Yeah. And, but yeah, today I wanted to just pick your brain about treatments because I also know that you moonlight as a commercial director, writer, or writing for treatments. And this is kind of a new forum I've created to just create like more open conversations about this process, since it's something that I do like day in, day out a lot of times. And I know you have a very interesting perspective into it as a writer that has spanned so many genres. But, for this, you kind of have to get into like another niche of thinking. And you're an incredibly talented writer. So I wanted to just get your thoughts and,
thank you for having me. And I think this is such a great idea. I mean, my first thing I'll say right off the bat is commercial directors hire a treatment writer not to come out of your budget, but your production company that's pitching you on this should pay for it. So you're not paying for this. I really recommend directors do that because as Christina and all of you guys who are commercial directors know, you go up for hopefully you're being set up for a lot of bids, and it's free work for you and it's hours. And if you find a talented writer who you can have a 1 hour, well, I'll tell you the way I do it. But what I'm trying to say is if it's a legit production company, they should be able to pay somebody 1 or 2 days to do it. Oh, sorry. I should have turned this thing off. I'm sorry, Christina.
Oh, no worries. No worries.
Everything.
Yeah, no, it's such a good point. I think that because there's so many hours put into the treatment process, writing, pulling images, designing, and a lot of times, like, what if I'm on set and that means that I can't be getting future work, so it's critical to have these like connections and everything in place, because you sort of have to keep the wheel going,
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely. And what I have been fortunate, there's only been one, but otherwise every single director I've ever worked with comes back to me again and again. And I have directors who won't do a bid without me. And it's really helpful because then when they're on set, if they get offered something, they trust me, they know how to do it. We have one conversation on the phone where I get their notes on stuff. I can tell you a bit about my process working with directors.
Yeah, that would be super cool.
Yeah. So one thing that I think was helpful to inform my treatment writing is, in addition to being a writer, I was a video producer at BuzzFeed. I had this amazing experience that, RIP BuzzFeed Motion Pictures, but they used to have these things called video fellowships. And video fellowships were incredible because essentially they paid you for 6 months and they taught you how to shoot, edit, light, and DP your projects. So every week you had to make a viral video that you shot, cast, if it was scripted, wrote, and edit. And so you are learning about, shot lists and angles, and it's not incredible filmmaking by any means, but it's fast paced, made for online, quick cuts.
Yeah.
And so that really helped when I work with directors because I can talk about cameras and I can talk about, a viral comedy video for YouTube is similar to a commercial in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
In and out really fast. It's really, punchy and comedic. So the way I work with the director, if it's a new director, I'm just working with a new director this week who is really talented and great. The first thing I always tell directors, because obviously when you're a director, you have a vision, you're passionate. It's like scary to turn over anything creative. You're like, what if this person like has bad taste or doesn't get me? So the first thing I tell a new director I'm working with is, I'm here for you. Anything I write, you can delete. If I use a corny phrase, it's gone. Like, I'm here for you. This is for you. Nothing can hurt my feelings. Like, I'm trying to make you happy, you know? Because I'm just here to be a tool. And so another thing I'll ask is to see a couple of their previous treatments to get a feel for the way they talk and they write. And then what I do is I listen to the agency call and I take really vigorous notes. Then I read the project brief or the director brief. And then whatever brand it is, I'll go to their YouTube page and watch like the last couple of years of the kinds of commercials that they've been doing. My mind is brewing. And then I'll make categories, you know, hello, director statement, depending on the project.
Yeah.
I literally am in the middle of writing a treatment for a new director today. And something that I have noticed, I'm sure all of the directors, Christina, I'm sure I think something that's really the key to writing a treatment is repeating back what the agency has put in their brief. Like, there's certain key words that they say a couple times and you listen to it in the call when you're talking to the agency where you're like, oh, they're horny for these phrases. I got to them. And it's really important for them to know that you heard that and that you get that. So it has to be in the treatment, like explicitly. Like, say you're working on a spot and they keep talking about, I'm just going to think of something random, like fast-paced energy. Like, it has to be like super moving fast. Like, you could even have like a section that says like fast-paced energy. Like, we're talking about edits, cuts, angles, perform, like, so it's really important to say back to them what they think is really important. And then the creative part is within the constraints of their script and their visuals and their key things, it's you adding to that. It's adding some ideas. And, you know, directors, you know, on the calls, you can ask them things and you can hear when they're excited about idea and when they're not. And some brands are more traditional than others. So I think when you're writing a treatment, if I could give advice to people, is pay really close attention to the client calls, how excited they are when you ask questions. If you say, oh, could we do it like this? If they're like, don't put it in the treatment. If they're like, oh my God, yes, I love that. Like, make sure that it gets in there. And then another tip I would give to commercial directors, because I listen to all the client calls, is have questions for them and ask them, like, not to make up fake questions, but like ask them whatever comes to mind. And if you're in the middle of writing a treatment, you're not clear on something. I had a question about this treatment that I'm working on right now. Make the production company ask and get clarity on it. Because if there's anything you're not sure about, you could end up going down a path, turning something in, and then having the agency read it and be like, oh, they don't get it.
Right. Right. Yeah, we actually have a question, which is so cool. So I'll chime in for, hi, Lisa. Thanks for the question. She was saying, nice to meet you. She creates treatments too. I was wondering, how much time do you spend on creating the full service of a treatment with research, layout, and text? This is a great question. Well, you know, aren't maybe doing the layout, obviously, but maybe we could talk about how long does it take you to kind of write a treatment and do like a draft or two drafts?
It depends. I mean, if it's not that, first of all, I'm getting paid on a day rate. So the more they take, the better it is for me. But usually a treatment will take me 1 or 2 days. I did a treatment for Meta Facebook, which the director won, which is great.
Yeah, congrats.
Pieces of video in it, and that was like their director brief had like 90 pages, so that took like 3, maybe even 4 days, because that was like a mondo.
90.
Usually it's 1 or 2 days. I mean, and that's paid time. I mean, if I'm working on it, I'm getting paid, and I don't do any graphics at all, so they hire a graphic designer to do the polls. If you're Lisa, if you are doing the polls and the writing, you should be charging like double what you think, because people are paying for each one of those. So I hope you're charging a lot.
Yeah, full service treatments. Yeah, I've tried to connect to through my IG to other like treatment designers that I found, just so we can start the communications. But like in terms of, for me, I'm really lucky that I do have a production company that helped me do the layout, because the layout in of itself is just like so much of a waste of my time when I should be focusing on the ideas. And so for me, I've actually kind of pushed back a little bit. I used to, I mean, it used to be like 3 days turnaround a treatment, but because of the level that people are wanting, and because I feel like I'm struggling with getting it down to like 30 pages. Like that's like 30 to 40 is
Wait,
like
that's
good for me.
long.
I think, okay, so I
Long.
am like learning and I think it's because maybe I have a lot of visuals, or this is something that, what were we saying?
I do. I don't think people want to read something that long, even if it's
I,
cool visual. I
right,
think you should try
right.
or less if you can. I mean, if it's if there's a lot of scripts and if there's like 6 to 10 videos or something, but my understanding is, you know,
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think like when I write, if I'm writing for myself, it'll be like, 9 pages
that,
of like stuff, like between 5 and 9.
that's not
But
bad.
but then when you lay it out, and you don't want it to like feel like too heavy on the layout of one
Yeah.
page. But I feel like I'm getting more jobs where they're allowing a week, which is a big deal for me now. Like we can actually have a full week, so I can, focus on writing for a day or two, focus on image pulls for a day or two, and then kind of like finalize it. And that is really exciting. So that's where I'm at, Lisa, with my agency relationships. But thanks for the question.
Yeah.
Um, so I wanted to ask you, because to be able to shift from a like point of view, I mean, we're all storytellers, but this is such a unique way of storytelling. It's crazy when I have to create. Oh, I know. Lisa said
I
it's crazy when I have to.
that you're doing words and graphics in 1 to 2 days. I mean, those must be really long days.
Yeah, you must be very efficient. That's crazy. We should chat more for sure. Maybe we'll have you on, have an IG live with you. Um, but yeah, so to shift from, a long form TV writing into a treatment that's like talking about, soap, or, body lotion. Um, how do you wrap your brain around that? And is it just a completely different animal? Do you still feel like there's qualities that the storytelling, or is it like everything's amped up and amplified, and it's it's not as like realistic as, a narrative? Like how do you kind of pivot into that headspace? I guess those are a lot of questions
No,
in one,
no,
but
it's one question. I hear
yeah,
what you're saying. I think it's easier than you think, because I think being a writer is like an essential skill. It's like a base, and you can kind of do anything from there. So for example, if you're a photographer, you could probably take an amazingly gorgeous landscape photo, and then you could also probably take a gorgeous portrait, and then you could probably do some really cool street photography, and that's because you're a photographer, so you can,
yeah,
it's just a different
yeah,
format. It's I've been doing this for a long time. Like many creatives, when you have one skill, you're probably doing many things with it. Like if you're a director, you're probably directing commercials, you're probably directing industrials, you're probably directing shorts, you're probably, so for a writer, I've been doing advertising and stuff for like 10 years. I would say the kind of writing that treatment writing is, like, like a lot of copywriting, being clever, being cheeky, being funny, being witty, not in a cloying, gross way, but like when it makes sense to put in something clever, a cool turn of phrase, cool idea, not in a way that's over the top, but where it naturally fits in. That helps. I think the most important thing for treatment writing is just clarity of idea,
mm-hmm.
just being incredibly clear, um, really showing that you understand the project, and really, really explaining. I mean, the reason that it's a very particular kind of writing is you're taking a visual and you're writing things that are sort of, for many people, hard to describe, which are like feelings, moods, visual, movement, sound. It's kind of stuff that it's a lot easier to hear and
Yeah,
see. And so it's your job to make those things that are so kind of esoteric, like really explain them clearly.
yeah. Yeah, I think that's such a great way to put it. Like they are so esoteric, and that's why it might feel um, I don't know. I don't know if it feels sort of like this like thesis statement, but then it feels, so abstract. And the I think if I work with a writer, I can really make the abstract feel much more like clear.
Yeah.
And it's always that like expansion of like, what is this, this big idea of describing what this collage or like double exposure, will look like in this like beauty ad or whatever. And even storyboards are hard to even articulate that because we're talking about movement, we're talking about layers, we're talking about, so yeah, the finding the path with writing about something that is so visual is such an art form. And
That's
yeah.
what I mean. I think being a good writer is also being someone with good ideas. So it's like, okay, there's this like really boring section about sound effects. It's like fucking boring. But then you're like, oh, it's like that sound of like crunching on like your favorite granola, like that loud, like you're just creating like images and things that
Yeah.
are like relatable and like real. So I think that's really important, is to, a lot of advertising can be dry. And so it's like imbuing it with like stuff that's more human and interesting and relatable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why like 99% of the directors I work with like come to me again and again, is not only, and I'm not saying I'm the only one who does this. I think all the good treatment writers do this, but like a good treatment writer isn't just writing down what the director says. You're also like pitching ideas and concepts. I pitched entire campaigns and then wrote the commercials. So like the
Yeah.
fun is, if you have a treatment writer that you like, who's talented, who's like thinks visually, you're the director. I mean, I can pitch something and they can be like, that sucks. And I don't care. It's their project, whatever. But you can end up giving a lot of great ideas and then spurring them to think of things. And then you're having a bounce board. So I can't really encourage directors enough to hire a good treatment writer. Oh, I don't use AI to do anything. I don't really like AI. I mean, I'm 40. I don't know. Maybe that's a problem, but I don't like it.
So we were going to get to this, I think, and Lisa already kind of brought up the question, but I was going to ask you about ChatGPT, obviously. So that is really
Yeah,
interesting.
I don't use ChatGPT for anything. And I mean, this might sound like in a year that I'll sound really outdated and maybe I'll have to change, but I don't like it. I think that writing is a skill that you do because you like to do it. I find it, I'm not excited about AI. I mean, I don't know. I know there's a lot more positive about it, but I don't like it.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really make sense when this is your craft and you don't need like something else to improve it. I mean, especially like a computer that or a AI language model, whatever. But I do use it, Lisa, for at least for visuals. I've been using it because I have a lot of like projects that come up where there's set design that I'm constantly pulling references, and now I can finally really like take those references to another level that aren't already existing. Because ideally, you're talking about a campaign that has not been shot before. So I think it's always funny because you're like in that catch-22 where you are, the client wants to see the spot on your reel, but you don't have the spot on your reel. Like it hasn't been made yet. So that's what I think is so, so cool, that now I can finally like put in some prompts, be able to get some really interesting set design that's completely unique to my treatment, and like it doesn't exist anywhere. But secondly, I do use, there's like the sun this is like really intense, but I'm glowing. I am glowing. You're backlit and I'm glowing.
You're like like a little Swedish angel.
It's like coming out from behind this. I forgot the time of day. I should have changed positions. But so, and one more thing about the ChatGPT. I have been using it because I'm not as skilled of a writer as you, honestly. So when I don't have a budget to hire you, but hopefully I will soon, because I know you're just gonna like slay it, and you'll probably be my lucky my lucky charm. But I do use it because I think it helps me become like more concise with my language. And I write everything, and then I pull it through the filter of ChatGPT to be like, hey, tighten this up or make it sound like more glowy. And sometimes it's like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like, it does go like really big, but yeah.
My cousin doesn't like writing and he uses it a lot for marketing. I think if you don't like writing, find it very challenging, I could see the benefit. But if you like writing, then it feels like, yeah, like I remember years ago when Gmail started like trying to finish your sentences in email, I immediately disabled that. I'm like, I can write my own emails. I also think, unfortunately, I think it makes you stupider. Like writing is thinking. If you're never doing your
Yeah.
own writing, you're always outsourcing your thinking. I don't mean, I have plenty of friends who use ChatGPT for these really intense amounts of work and jobs. I'm not saying if you use ChatGPT, I'm probably the one who has to, I mean, I don't know. It might be like, you know, writing by hand versus a computer in 2 years, but most of the are like I'm also a screenwriter. I would never fucking use ChatGPT to help me come up with ideas because I'm like, that's dumb. I like writing. That's the work
Right.
of it. So
Right.
that's just my feeling. I don't care if other people like it. I don't like it.
Yeah, I mean, no, I'm very happy to hear that you feel the relationship with it is makes so much sense for you. Like it's almost like why would a seasoned writer be using it? I don't know. It really doesn't actually make sense.
Writer, I
So,
it is hard. Writing is hard, but that's what it
yeah,
is. If you don't like the of it, then it's not a good
yeah,
fit. Like, I mean,
yeah, yeah,
like if you're not a writer, I can understand using it. But if you like writing, then write. I mean, I think the process of writing is helping you understand how you feel. I mean, it's the same thing as like people who journal. Like if you journal, my God, it's like all of a sudden you're like, oh, that's how I feel. That's what's going on with my life because the writing is helping.
yeah,
Writing is thinking. It's
yeah.
just a way of thinking. And so, I mean, I just feel, I mean, this could go into another direction, but like I am worried about the way tech is like demanding less and less of our own problem solving and creativity. I don't know. I know that there's really creative people that, you know, use this kind of stuff. And I just am a little like concerned about it.
I know. I mean, but we're all kind of in the same boat together, I think. And so that is, we could definitely get into that. But I wanted to, what was your friend that mentioned, our newspaper has a strict policy against using AI? Creatives and writers don't need another obstacle in their career. Oh, okay. Oh, that's cool. Like the actual newspaper it's like a big no, it sounds like, in a strict policy.
Who knows what the future is going to hold? I don't know. It may be a
Yeah.
thing. I don't know. But as of now, I feel, you know, that's just where I'm at. I also think part of society and being a person is like you should be allowed to change your mind with new information. Like, you know, maybe I'll feel differently in 5 years, but as of now, that's how I feel.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of going back to the like for me it's so interesting how you can kind of read a style of writing from a director, like their own voice, and then kind of pull that apart and find ways to make that feel authentic. you know you're bringing the ideas to the table, you're writing, you're making it way more refined, but then kind of bringing in their sort of personality and flavor. And to me it feels like it would be like a split personality, like, oh, I would say this, but like they would probably say it like this or something. Like, does that happen?
Is, I mean, I have a ton of respect for directors and I have a ton of respect for writers and they're different skills. And, you know, I've been writing for like 15, 20 years. And so I'm good at it. And so I feel like when I'm talking to somebody, I'm thinking about their ideas plus how to say it in this cool way that unless you've been writing for a very, very long time, it would never even occur to you. So
Yeah.
I think, I think I bring journalism into this process too, because when I'm talking to directors, the first section in many treatments is the like, hello, director statement. And let's just choose a product. Aloe vera, say it was aloe vera.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing I do when I talk to a director, if we're having a conversation, it's usually about an hour, sometimes longer, is I say, let's say Christina's up for a spot with aloe vera and I'm writing it. And I say, Christina, what's your relationship to aloe vera? Do you have any memories of like camping or being a kid? And then she racks her brain and she goes, you know what, Rose, in my family, we didn't really use aloe vera. And I said, okay, no problem. And she goes, you know what, but I've been really enjoying it. I have a beautiful plant that kind of, looks like it, whatever. We find
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
You're
Find a
lucky
connection.
when you work on a product. I mean, I've been lucky to once in a while, the director and I are working on I think I worked with a director on a bid for like some cool brand like LL Bean. And they're like, I've been wearing this like since I was a kid.
Oh,
But
wow.
the, what is it like when you don't have a relationship with a brand? What if it's
Right,
something
right.
like, said, like, what if it's homeowners insurance? I like to talk,
Yeah.
say you rent an apartment and you're up for a commercial about homeowners insurance. How do you have the personal thing?
Yeah.
I usually director and ask enough questions until we find something where it's like, oh my God, my aunt's house just flooded and like now she's living with my mom, or one day I want to have a house and this would be a huge. So I think
Yeah.
part of the process is like working with the director, asking the right questions, digging
Mm-hmm.
in, like
Mm-hmm.
I think
Yeah, there's
being
like
a
an
good,
investigative reporting side of you that's
yeah,
kind of, you
yeah,
know.
I think like, and again, like once you're working with the same director again and again, I have directors that I've probably done like 15 bids for, and like we won a lot of them. I mean, some of them we don't, whatever, but we
Yeah.
get to the point where we just have a shorthand. But with a new director, I'm always saying, hey, what if we do this? Also, no big deal if we don't. Because something I think that comes up sometimes in treatments, I don't know if this has happened to you, Christina, is you're writing a commercial treatment, and whether it's music, style, set, for example,
Mm-hmm.
say you were like writing in the section of the treatment about like set design or art direction,
Mm-hmm.
and think to yourself, oh my God, this would be like a perfect, the thing that just comes to mind is Pee-wee's Playhouse. That is such a good
Mm-hmm.
comp, like this thing. Sometimes you wonder, is saying this going to be helpful because they can immediately picture it? Or is saying this going to immediately turn them off because it's too old, it's not what they want? So that's something I'm always towing the line with the director is like,
Yeah.
do we give them references? Does that help us or does that hurt us? And I think it kind of depends on the client and the brand.
Yeah, I mean, that is such a great point because I'm literally going through a treatment right now. And like music is like such a thing where, do you want to like put things out there? Do you want to just make it vague enough, but still specific enough? And it's always this dance where if you don't give references, you want to have it flushed out. But, and even with like not related to writing, but related to like sometimes I would include the team that I'm looking forward to recommending for the project. So like DP, production designer.
We do.
Oh, you guys,
Me,
yeah.
me,
So,
director of mine, she has a DP that she uses like a lot, and she usually calls her out.
oh, really? Oh, that, yeah. So, and I'm always well, at least recently, one of my EPs mentioned that, what happens when they worked with this DP before and they had a bad experience, and so like, there's all these, I mean,
Rare, like
yeah, there's all these like hilarious, if you're being too specific, but
I
I think that,
I think if they don't have somebody in mind already and you have like an incredible person,
yeah,
I don't think you have to put it in. Like if you're a director watching this and you're like, oh, I don't know any DPs or I don't have somebody, no problem. It's just if you have someone that you're like, oh my God, she'd be perfect. She's available. She has an amazing portfolio. Then I think you can put it
yeah,
in, especially, and also have an editor that you're like, oh, this particular project, this person would fucking kill it.
yeah,
I think you can do that,
yeah.
but you can take the temperature. These are questions you can ask the production company.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and what do you think about? I mean, I guess like just in terms of most of the people that would be listening into this probably don't have a production company behind them to maybe fund these things, but are emerging and kind of figuring out this process, figuring out the treatment process. So, uh,
Young directors who are emerging.
yeah, I mean, like, do you have advice that do's and don'ts or things that you would never say in a when you're writing a
I
treatment?
have worked once with a director who I would not work with again. I've been so lucky. I do this a lot, and 99% of the time I'm working with brilliant, cool, respectful, creative, wonderful people. I only had one experience where it was somebody who was extremely young, like 23, and they were so rude and their communication style was so aggressive. I've been doing this for much longer than they have. I really could not stand that work experience. And I would say if you're a young director, no matter how old you are, if you're new to directing, just be really respectful of everybody that you're in contact with, because even if you're hot shit and you like direct some cool ass music video and it goes viral or something, just be like respectful and kind to everybody that you work with, because there's a million talented people. Yeah. There's a million really talented people. You can easily find somebody who is professional and appropriate and respectful.
Yeah. 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 Amen to that. We got some hearts coming.
General, if you're an emerging director, I don't know how you get put up for stuff if you don't have a production company behind you. I don't know how. I'm not a director. If you don't, I don't quite understand how that works. But if you're getting put up for jobs and they have no money for you to hire a treatment writer or somebody to pull images. I know a lot of times directors pull images because they're used to doing that anyway. So sometimes designing the treatment is easier for them than writing it.
Yeah.
I would say just if it were me, and Christina, you're probably better at this than me because I'm not a commercial director, but I would probably put a lot of time into it and make it really amazing if I was a new director. Only if it was something that I thought I could really slay. If it was just something where I didn't really have anything on my reel that looks like a good fit. If you get something that comes your way where you're like, I'm actually fucking perfect for this, I would put in as much time and energy as you can, even if it like takes way more time. If you're at the beginning of any career, you're going to have to do things for free and you're going to have to pull in hours. So I wouldn't do it for every bit. If you're bright and colorful and have this really poppy Gen Z thing and you get put up for a brand that really is that, give it your all. If you're bright and colorful and vibrant and you're like up for this like depressing PSA, like give it a day. Like don't, you also have to make it
be realistic with your time. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You really feel like you could crush,
Yeah. How do you strategize when a director is up for something when they don't have it on the reel? Maybe they're the long shot and it is that kind of balance between, all right, we have to go big. Maybe we have to make some crazy suggestion for us to even be considered. Is that the strategy? Or, have you been in that boat with some of the people that you've worked with?
Stuff that most of the directors I've worked with are pretty established, and a lot of times they get put up for stuff because it's a good fit for stuff they've done. There have been times, like I work with a director who's very visual and vibrant and bright and really hyper color, and we pitched on something that was kind of like a pharma thing, but we didn't have to take big swings. We just tried to match that tone. We didn't like try and turn it upside down. We just did our best to hit what they wanted. But I would say I don't think
just staying in line and not
put up for it. There's a reason that they're putting you up for it, even if you don't have the exact thing on your reel. And just do a great job and just try and execute it. I mean, you know how it is, Christina. You're being put up for stuff. Some of it makes perfect sense for your color palette and your sensibility, and some of it isn't. But even if it isn't, you have good enough taste and you understand what that would need. I don't think you need to do anything crazy to prove to them.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, it does come up where it's like obvious that you're the long shot and you feel like you were talking about before, that how much time do I invest in this? Like, do I really give it my all, or do I give it a day because I am just the third bidder, thinking through that strategy. But it's really tough because there's so many things that are out of our control. Maybe the client, wants to fly to Paris, or maybe they just want an excuse to go to LA. Like there are some things that are so out of our control. It's
for this. They put you up for some reason. As you know, they don't put a million directors up for stuff. So if you're up for something, there's something about you that they like, even if you've never done a this or a that. And then I think it's just really individual. Like we're all freelancers here. We're all hustlers. You have to do the math in terms of time, burnout, how many other projects you have. You also don't have to say yes to everything. If you don't have time, you don't have to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess this was like so helpful, and it's just so natural for you. So you're like, I can talk in any voice. I've done this for so long. So
you are the same with the camera. Ask you to do anything, you can do it. It's like you got like one essential skill that you just modify for each thing. But I think, oh, if you work in commercials long enough, you understand it's like this, it's art and commerce. It's literally
Right.
that blended together. It's like, ultimately you are literally selling a product, but you're also trying to be creative and cool and interesting and fun. And, there's some great commercials out there. So,
Yeah. I mean, yeah, thank you so much for your time. This was fantastic. And I am just so grateful, so excited for like everywhere you're going. Radio voice, it's kind of amazing. Would you say that, just for people watching, if they're interested in working with you, would you say that you're like specifically focused on any genre, or do you, I mean, Meta, I guess, is huge, like
yeah,
pretty, pretty big.
jobs on Starbucks, Meta, just massive things. But we also pitch other stuff. I just say, if you're a commercial director, don't write your own treatments. You have plenty to do. I mean, I don't know why you would. Like, it's because if you're a busy person, like, this is how you don't lose your mind. Like, let people help you. You're still in charge, and the person is still working for you. But find a person, if you like them, work with them again and again, and then you're on set, and then you can still like finish these treatments while people are. I think it's a great thing to do. It's not coming out of your own pocket. I think it can take your treatments to the next level. If you're hiring somebody smart who has great ideas, it can even make the commercials better than you even thought. And it's don't do it yourself.
Oh, Lisa has all the questions. I'm so excited that
What's your
she's still tuning in.
comedy, form and family, or maybe fashion or something else? I'm a comedy person at heart. I have I was a stand-up, I write sitcoms. So anytime it can be funny at all, I really love that. So yeah, I would say any brand that's willing to get weird, funny, offbeat.
Yeah.
I mean, that's much more fun than. I'm lucky. I've mostly worked on fun bids. Like, I've worked on like one pharma thing. Like, I think I'd be depressed if I was just doing these like boring, like erection pill, like. Oh,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, we worked together like so long ago with Echo, back in the day, and yeah, you always bring like so much charm and like so much energy and joy, like just like on the page. And yeah, we need to start working together in this
I mean,
capacity.
that was amazing. Yeah, Christina and I were paired together on this really cool project. She had this amazing idea. It was so creative. You had a million ideas, and it was an absolute blast working together. And then, this is the world of creatives. It's like maybe 1/10 of things that you work on never happen, but it was a great meeting, and we've become good friends, and I'm completely in awe of you. I really admire you. You're a real go-getter, and you're so creative, and you're always creating opportunities for yourself. And I really admire that.
Oh, well, I'm trying to connect the dots. And so hopefully this was so helpful to this audience, and also that somebody finds you and that you can just
Yeah,
be,
hire me.
you're going to be writing all these treatments. All right. Well, yeah, thanks for your time, and we will chat soon,
Bye,
Rose.
hon.
Bye.